dia, Portugal!
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, a live stream and the podcast. Right, it says on the screen there, because I forgot to take it off, basically, from the... Can somebody explain this to me? We're in Austin, Texas, by the look of it. The El Arroyo, is that a Tex-Mex restaurant of some kind? Do let me know. But for those of you on the podcast, it says it's okay if you fall apart sometimes. It's okay if you fall apart sometimes. Tacos fall apart, and we still love them. There you go. If you're not, gluten intolerant, that is, perhaps. Okay, good morning to you. How are you on this Thursday morning? The clickbaity title of the show, live stream and podcast this morning is moving to Portugal getting harder? Of course, that's quite subjective. How long is a piece of string? And I seem to have something on my shirt that I didn't notice earlier on. Now I see it on the screen. It's funny. I see quite a lot of things I didn't realize when I'm looking back at myself on the screen there. I think one of the cats might have done that. I was just nestling into my neck. But anyway, that's nothing to do as to whether it's getting harder to move to Portugal or not. We will talk about that with Heather, who's here at 9:30. And she's quite glad of that. She was out late last night. I don't think she was eating at El Arroyo. I don't think you can do that in Portugal. Was it Thai food she was looking forward to? And that was before going to see Echo and the Bunnymen, I believe, in Lisbon. Any Bunnymen fans? Is that what you call yourselves collectively? And I think we should do, because so many people in our community love 80s music, we should do a little profile of 80s bands. Mrs. M, do you like Echo and the Bunnymen? You do. Okay. What's their big hit? Is it Spare Us the Cutter?
Oh, yeah.
You don't know, do you?
I can't remember. I used to listen to their album.
Did you? You had their album. See, I was never much of an album person. Okay, just a very quick introduction then to Echo and the Bunnymen. Ian McCulloch is the front man. Is an English rock band formed in... You can tell, can't you, that I'm reading from Wikipedia, because it always starts like that, doesn't it? XYZ is a XYZ and formed in Liverpool in 1978. That's Echo and the Bunnymen. English rock band, 1978. Wow. The original lineup consisted of vocalist Ian McCulloch, guitarist Will Sargent, and bassist Les Pattinson. By 1980, Pete de Freitas, is that Portuguese influence in there, joined as the band's drummer. The 1980 debut album, Crocodiles. And at that point, are some of you going, oh, Crocodiles, wow. Yeah, I remember that. It went into the top 20 of the UK albums chart made. After releasing their second album, Heaven Up Here, that's probably the one Mrs. M had in 1981. No, because she was only 3. The band's cult status was followed by mainstream success in the UK when they scored a UK top 20 hit, top 10 hit made with The Cutter. Yes, Spare Us the Cutter. And the album, which the song came from, Porcupine, hit number 2 in the UK. Ocean Rain 84 continued the band's UK chart success with its lead single, Killing the Moon, entering the top 10. You know that one. And after they released a self-titled album in 87, McCulloch left the band and was replaced by singer Noel Burke. Oh dear. And then it goes a little bit horrid with some of the history of the band there. Well, okay. So really, I don't clearly know very little about Echo and the Bunnymen. I was getting them confused in my mind with Teardrop Explodes. I came very close standing next to the fella from Teardrop Explodes, and whose name Julian Cope, is it? Yeah, I went to see my friend who was at university, and she was chair of the ENTS committee or something like that, and they were putting on Julian Cope that night. I think at that tender age, when I must have been around 20 or so on, That was the closest I'd come to a rock star backstage. Julian Cope. If you liked Echo and the Bunnymen, you may well have liked Julian Cope and the Teardrop Explodes as well. Deagle, Echo and the Bunnymen were classed as new romantic. Well, they're old romantics now, if they're still classed in any way like that. And we'll find out from Heather how they got on stage last night. Wasn't Les Patterson, Dame Edna Everage in a suit? Yes. How has that come about? Thank you, Ancient Mariner, who one of my children called the Ancient Marinator. Are you happy with that? One of our kids, I don't know, but one of the kids said, is it one of those people who watch your show, the Ancient Marinator? It's not such a bad, I mean, as you're sitting there on the top deck, so to speak, drinking red wine, and sitting in the evening sun, that is you, isn't it? The Ancient Marinator. Okay, Coach Turner was in at 7:41. I'm missing T-Duck. He should be back soon with a Cane Severe deep thought. So if you've got a deep thought or a dad joke, bung it in the chat, and we'll take care of it this morning in his absence. He'll be back soon. Bon dia, all you lovely gumpers. A successful day yesterday through, though the heart did win over the head a little. That's the next piece of our road trip in place. That fine motor vehicle, the Porsche, that you'll be driving across Europe in. How wonderful, Coach Turner. Back to training today, though. And the God Squad tip of the day is, whilst pondering yesterday with the driving thing about inventions that make life easier, cars, of course, is our computer whining in the background, or is that me? Cars, of course, are a good example, but there are multiple examples. The TV remote is another. And so are exercise machines in the gym. But don't think that's where you're going with this. We used to have to get up from the sofa and press a button. Didn't you not send a kid to do it? But I guess before that innovation was discovered in the living rooms of the world, yeah, you did have to get up off your bottom and go and change over the channel yourself. Only if you had more than one channel, however, or if your parents allowed you to watch more than one. At least we could find what the TV or the remote control. Well, some men could, but that's a discussion for a whole different type of show. Hold on a minute, what's going on here? Pushing buttons. Finding the button and pushing it. Coach Turner, modern life's improvements have made us very lazy. What gadgets can you discard that would make you more active without making your life more difficult? That is radical, isn't it? Your suggestions, please. So you get rid of your car or share one, maybe. That's a way of doing it, isn't it? Getting rid of your bicycle and your running machine, that would make you more active. No, hold on a minute. Yes, everything in its place. Because I was thinking, we used to be very prejudicial and somewhat negative about the people in the gym at the end of my street, of which I am now one. And other people can walk past and judge me now, hopefully thinking what a buff gentleman he is as they look through the window. I used to look through and think, what are those? What I won't say what sort of names I call people, but I wasn't exactly pleasant or positive about them, thinking, I've got a dog here. You can walk the streets with a dog. And you can get exercise. You do not have to run on a machine. But now I realize it's a hack, isn't it? Some of those machines are hacks and they make life a lot easier. And you can squeeze more in. I mean, that was the beauty. That is one of the many benefits that we were sold about machines, especially computers, is that they would save us time. Now, whether or not that has taken place, I'll leave that to you to discuss in the chat this morning. James also in at 7:48. Sorry, I was late this morning. I was actually late starting, and then when I tried to start, we had to clear some space on the hard drive or in the cloud or somewhere anyway. Sorry? All right. Thank you very much, Mrs. M. That won't be happening tomorrow, unless I go and record 27 shows later on this afternoon, or you do. Bon dia todos. Oh, talking of shows, what have you got this morning? What is the big question, Mrs. M? I've still got bits of the try something Portuguese this morning that I was sampling earlier on as a little bit of a rehearsal. We do have a try something Portuguese, which is meaty this morning and a little bit shocking, actually. The bread. I've put the keywords in the chat. The bread. Be careful if you're looking up cacetinho, because that is really rude, I think, in Brazilian Portuguese. Did you look that up, Mrs. M?
Not yet.
Let me just put your microphone up, then we'll be able to hear you.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, today's show.
Today's Barefoot Broadcast.
If you could teach,
That's a wine show, the broadcast.
That sounds great. If you could teach shall I start again?
I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony, Coca-Cola.
If you could teach
You've
the
ruined that.
entire world just one concept,
Mm.
what would it be? And I'm joined by
It's easy.
really.
Yeah, stop thinking. That is the concept. I will bombard your show with that.
Great. Okay. And I'll be on with lovely Jenny Lowe's,
Jenny Lowe's.
who's a contributor here, and she's contributed to lots of shows before.
Right.
She's our integrative health queen.
She's fantastic.
She's awesome.
If you've got a health condition that you would like a different sort of view on, a holistic view, I mean, holistic practitioners, therapists tend to attract two kinds of customers. The ones I would call the forward and open thinking types of clients who think, oh, that's interesting. I will look at the mainstream, and I will broaden my search beyond the mainstream too. So that's the sort of person who goes to holistic and complementary therapists. And then people who can't get any satisfaction for years and years within the mainstream system.
Yeah.
And they're utterly desperate.
Yeah.
And then they're not in the best condition, which then leads to people saying these complementary and holistic therapies don't work. Well, that's because you nearly died before you got to the person that you're asking for help now. Anyway,
well, I mean, that's because people rarely say that actual mainstream medicine doesn't work either. So she does have lots of people that go to her.
Third leading cause of death, so it works.
Yeah. I mean, she has actually got a full medical background.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about her is that she incorporates it too. She came from the NHS,
nursing background,
and was a recruiter for them as well. And she had her own issues that the mainstream health, like the NHS, could not resolve, and so she had to learn the hard way.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's how it happened.
And so she's on your show,
and I've also got Michael Brody, who's joining us, who's a top coach, top person, top philosopher, coming to join us.
I will mangle his mind if I hammer home the point of stopping thinking. He's a big thinker.
He's
isn't
a
he?
totally big thinker.
He's a big thinker, isn't
So I think it's gonna be good. It's lighthearted. Come and join us if it appeals. I'm sure you'll put a link in the show.
No, I won't. Barefoot Broadcast. I need all those clicks and hits myself. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that.
If anyone's interested in the forecast for the month ahead, my October forecast is online now.
Is it astrological? Is it intuitive? Is it a bit of both?
It's a bit of both.
Is it? You're finding that your astrological work is leaning more into the intuitive?
Definitely. But if you go to Feel Good Astrology on YouTube, not now, but after the show,
it's not now.
Yeah, you'll be able to listen in.
Okay, Barefoot Broadcast just after 10, and a Feel Good Astrology forecast. Big old full moon coming up, isn't there, tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yeah, in Aries.
I'm feeling it already.
Anyone that's an Aries, Libra, in particular, will really be feeling the energies of it.
Typical.
Especially if you're born around this time of the year. What's the date tomorrow? 29th of September.
29th of September.
Or around the 29th of March.
Do you remember? I missed that again this year.
Yeah, we always forget to do that.
I put it in the diary for next year. I'm so organised. Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. M.
Bye.
Woo, there she goes. All right. Oh no, I didn't mean to press that one. It's that bad luck when you get that. Okay, I'll pock and pod it, as it were, with this one. There you go. I have a sprinkled gumper dust on you. People live for that moment. Bon dia todos, feliz quinta. From James, who gave us the opening slide this morning of "Don't worry about falling apart. Tacos fall apart," and many people love tacos. And he's squeezing a dad joke in here as well. So as well as his "Bon dia todos, feliz quinta," okay, time feito, his dad joke warning. And you have been warned. I don't often roll a joint, but when I do, it's my ankle. All right. Okay. Thank you very much. I don't know what you're talking about. Modern life's improvements, then, coming back to Coach Turner's suggestion for today. Question to you. Big question. It's a deep thought, really. The modern so-called improvements, in inverted commas, bunny ears there, have made us very lazy. What?
Looked up the meaning.
Yeah.
It means
you're illustrating the meaning as well. They've made us lazy.
Kettle snack.
No, please don't be saying that on my. Huh? Okay, thank you very much. Thankfully, your microphone was off. What gadgets can you discard that would make you more active without making your life more difficult? Now, that's interesting, that bit at the end, because in many ways, that's okay, isn't it? I mean, there is good difficulty, isn't there? What doing 10,000 steps a day is would make your life more active, and it would make it more difficult in many ways, but it would be worth it, wouldn't it? So I think we have to add some shades of grey to the word difficult at the end. There is the price worth paying of bringing a little bit of difficulty or challenge into your life? I would say so. I would say so. Deagle, bon dia, Carl and Gumpus. Thank you very much for the package we received yesterday, Deagle. We'll do our best to keep pushing for justice for Noah's mother. Bon dia, Carl and Gumpers. That was an exciting stormy day yesterday. We had the calm before the storm, then the storm, brutal calm, as the eye was over us. Then high winds overnight, a warm 12 degrees now, all gone. And Deagle tells us about a woman who was rescued from a submerged car by 30 firefighters, a frightening video of her being rescued. So Storm Agnes did do her worst and caused a little bit of trouble over there, certainly in Belfast, and I think parts of the north of England. Not heard any other reports other than that. Deagle, hope everyone's safe today. That lady will be counting her blessings this morning, won't she? And probably will have forevermore have a firefighter calendar hanging in her kitchen. Amazing. Okay, keywords today for Try Something Portuguese. I'll try this in the next half-hour segment. You're going to be looking out for quesadinhas. That's the bread that I'll be using. The main event is paio de lombo, the porco preto. I'm going to be trying some black pork cuts of meat this morning. So something that vegetarians may wish to avoid or look away at the time that I do that. And those of you who do like a bit of porco preto, I'll be trying the supplier of most of my Try Something Portuguese subjects would appear to be Intermarché at the moment. And from their Porsi selection for you, the Paio do Lombo, the Porco Preto this morning between 9 and 9:30. Barandi will greet him. He's not here, but he has sent us a walking video, which I'll show in just a moment. A little stroll, a bairamble in Bairrada from Barandi, off on my morning constitutional. Catch you all in the second half. Now, some people refer to going to the lavatory as their morning constitutional. I think he's talking about his walk through the countryside, and we have one of those to share with you. T-Duck, good of you to pop in. Bon dia, Gumper, still busy, but I'll try to listen in a bit today. Great to see you yesterday, mate, and great to see everybody who was at the meetup. I got a picture of the meetup. Now, sometimes when I download pictures, it downloads a zip file, which is really inconvenient because I can't find it. And I've just got a brace of photos. I have found them now, a little clutch of photographs. And I'm going to ask you to be a picture editor because I went to take a portrait of Marco Areas at the Storytellers Palace Hotel here. We're very proud to have the Storytellers Palace here in San Martino de Porto, and it will be part of our filming. Also, yeah, we've got a preview of the filming that Bobby and I did, and Andy Klein captured that, and that's over. The GMP VIPs can see that at learnaboutportugal.com, gmpvip.com. If you are one of those, pop over there and you can see a lovely preview that Andy put together of the sunset. I very nearly snogged Bobby. It was so romantic on the beach as we were sat next to each other with the Atlantic sun just dipping down, beers in hand. And it was quite the bromantic moment, but we'll save that perhaps for a later episode. This is the meetup yesterday. Fantastic turnout. That is about half the people who turned up yesterday. Great to see you, Kathy, who you can see in the middle. Michael, Tor, Shannon, Barry. Thank you all. Don, Alison there as well. Many others came yesterday, and it was quite the buzz. Really lovely buzz in the Palmera Cafe. And there, we like to send a picture of the menu around the world. If you're on the WhatsApp list, shall I do that now? Let me find that for you. If you want to subscribe to the WhatsApp list, so many WhatsApp groups at the moment, not least a week tomorrow, we're going to the Schist and Barão tour, or going on the tour with Filomena. That's a recent and busy WhatsApp group. Invite to group via link. Okay, I'm copying this one. This is for you if you want to join the San Martino de Porto meetup WhatsApp. That's quite a mouthful, isn't it? And I put that there in the chat because not everybody comes along. We got over, I think, about 150 people in that group. A lot of them are having a vicarious pleasurable moments, seeing pictures coming from the San Martino de Porto meetup before maybe they come to Portugal, maybe while they've gone back home or whatever, keeping in touch with what's going on here. And I try my best. Mrs. Duck often sends me a weather report because the ducks get there a little bit earlier than everybody else sometimes, and send us pictures, a weather report and the pictures of how many of those do you, let's test your Portuguese now. How many of those do you recognize? It was the sopa de agrião this yesterday lunchtime, and the salmão. I think that's quite a Wednesday regular now, the salmão no forno con legumes. So you got the baked salmon with veg for €9 there, the prato de dia, and a watercress soup. Bifanas, of course, kebabs, omelette, salad de thon. That's what I had yesterday, like a salad of tuna with a few chips. You can get the hamburger al palmeira, the quiche, the camarão aguilho. That's one of their house classics, the prawns in plenty garlic that you can mop up with bread. Oh, stop it, Carl. And mejoão, a bouillon, pato as well, the clams there, and a chicken salad as well. I might have that next week. Very good. I see Palmeira menu that we enjoy on a Wednesday, the meetup group, and the WhatsApp group address link is there in there if you want to keep in touch as well. English and eating Portuguese food, Mr. S. What's that, James? Oh, a chat between you and James. Portuguese immersion language programs are a bunch of immigrants speaking English. Or is that a new language or a typo on the screen there? Oh, Darren's here as well this morning. Good to see you, mate. But yeah, thanks to everybody who came to the meetup yesterday. We've got that walk to go on with Andy in just a moment. But before I go there, just to conclude on the other day's, what's wrong with this picture? Yeah, the other day's reporting, thanks to T-Duck for that, the film footage of that terrible fire at the pavilions in Caldas de Rainha. Morning, Aviva as well. Madeira food is somewhat different from the mainland. Yeah, I expect it is. I expect in many ways it's nicer, infused with all those paradise vibes that you have over there. Looking forward to seeing you at the meetup one of these days, Aviva, when you're next on the mainland. What's missing from this picture here on the screen? I'll describe it for podcast listeners. Thank you, each and every one of you as a podcast listener. Yeah, it's amazing. The Cinderellas of Good Morning Portugal, those people who listen on the podcast, thank you. You don't get enough limelight, but I guess it goes with the territory of the podcast, isn't it? Listening through your ears, not getting the visuals, in far-flung parts of the world. Thank you so much, those of you in South Africa, in Canada, and of course in Portugal, UK, and US. And if you are somewhere else saying, hold on a minute, you didn't mention me and where I am, drop me a line, 913-590-303. Back to the picture here then. It's one of the beautiful pavilion buildings. If you've been to Caldas de Rainha and the Dom Carlos Park in the center, you will have seen these three fine buildings. Long and thin they are, and they overlook the park in such a way that you would say to yourself, what a shame that they're derelict. Wouldn't that make a fantastic hotel? Well, that's the idea. And a spanner was put in the works of the hotel on, what was it, a couple of days ago, two or 3 days ago, when that building there caught ablaze and the flames could be seen licking the sky almost from the ground. They could be seen from the ground, and it was the top floor of this building that was on fire. And what's missing from that picture are the roof tiles. If you look at the two to the right, if you go to the park, you'll see that their roofs are intact. This was burnt so badly, and not much sign of it. Actually, there's a bit of charring on the gable end there, but the roof completely burnt and collapsed, and no roof tiles to be seen anymore. So just a kind of skeletal looking building there. Looks okay at first glance, doesn't it? But there should be terracotta roof tiles in that picture. Yeah, staying with the pictures of the week, walking home from the park. Here's something you don't see every day: a peacock sitting on someone's balcony on one of the side streets, the lanes of Caldas de Rainha. You'll often see these characters. They leave Dom Carlos Park and go for a wander. What's the noise peacocks make? Is it ah, ah in the distance here? Yes, I'll arouse the attention of my pets. One of whom is this is my recent portrait with Jimmy Choo. Isn't he looking handsome these days? That's us having a special moment. And I thought I'd included in this little selection of pictures Jenny, the cat, who's joined us recently. It was yowling at the front door. That not a peacock, but a stray cat who is now living with us, it would appear. I thought I had a picture of her. I'll have to save that for another day. Anyway, I want you to be a picture editor. Tell me which of these you think should go with the article I've written about the Storyteller's Palace. Come back to those. I'm doing a little bit quickly, but doesn't Marco Areas look amazing there? The man behind the magic at the Storyteller's Palace. We'll come back to him, and you can suggest what you think is the best picture. But where has my frame gone? Have I deleted that? Say I haven't deleted that. Please, no. Oh, here it is. Okay. I'll put that somewhere where I can more easily get to it. And let's roll VT and catch up with the comments afterwards that have been coming in thick and fast this morning. Apologies to you if I've not said hello yet. I will do that right after we've had a little walk in the countryside and I've finished my cuppa with Bayrandi here in the Bayrada on a little bit of a Bayrambo. Here he goes.
Hello, bom dia. Our morning walk. Not too bad today, not too hot, not too cold. Probably going to be a bit warmer later. Why those birds up on top of that tree? Oh, probably crows. That's those. They have these little buildings scattered around through the vineyards. They keep their tools and stuff in there. And there was talk that back in the day, when there were a lot of wild boars and stuff, they used to, guys would sleep in them, the farmers, to protect their land. I don't know how true that is. All the grapes have pretty much been harvested now, so there's a yeasty smell in most of the villages where all the locals are processing them and starting to ferment, I guess. A nice little track up there. Might have to try that one someday. We've gone from the vineyard into the trees. This is the eucalyptus. They're huge, aren't they? They're regarded as an invasive species, but apparently they grow very quickly, and they're very good for. They get good money for them to make toilet paper with. There's a factory just outside of there that smells. You can smell with the chemicals that they use to break down the sinews of the eucalyptus to turn it into toilet paper. But yes, they're you don't get much wildlife in them when it's not too bad here, but you get the big woods of them, and if there's nothing much on the ground, there's nothing much, no animals, because they're the native animals, there's nothing they can eat or get off of them. So it'd be pretty quiet. But luckily here's a few of the pine trees, and the pine trees, of course, the native animals do know, and that's why you hear a few more birds, and also there's a lot more undergrowth here. And the other thing with eucalyptus, you cut them down and about 8 grow in their place. You can see there, that one's been cut before, just a small one, and that's got 3 growing up. That one's got about 4 or 5 growing up, and that's what happens. That one's got about 10 growing up out of it. And so they're very hard to get rid of. If you want to get rid of them, you've got to dig all the roots up. They're a right pain to get, but like I say, they're a good money maker for them, unfortunately or fortunately. Anyway, there we are. That's that. See you later. Ciao ciao, bye.
Superb. That was so lovely how you had just the scene without any commentary at the beginning. The commentary is excellent, by the way, but just the establishing shot and the birds singing and the I'll do another impersonation. People seem to, or Dougie likes my peacock. How about a ah, ah, ah? That's pretty good, isn't it? Sorry if that's driven your pets mad. And if you were disappointed not to see me with my new cat, which I seem to have, not a cat person, by the way, although this one is really growing on me. Isn't she beautiful? She got a horrible kind of Persian Burmese wow. But when she's quiet and contented, she's lovely, isn't she? Look at her, me, the Bond baddie. with my cat there. Oh, yeah, while we're with the pictures, thank you, Paul. Paul H has contributed to my bulging sack. Thank you very much, Paul. You're very welcome to do so. Send pictures on 913-590-303. Love to get pictures, videos, and your correspondence. Lovely message from Paul. Still following your excellent show when I can whilst in the UK. I'm luckily enough to be in the Algarve for a couple of weeks, combining holiday with watching the Superbikes up at the Autodrome this coming weekend. Fantastic, Paul. Saw this mug, which I just had to buy. Cheers from Paul. Cheers to you, mate. Chin chin, Saud. I wonder what you've got in there. It's nice for a morning coffee, isn't it? But then again, you could put it in the fridge or the freezer and have a cheeky sagres or superbock in there with a bit of chilled ceramic. Very nice. That's beautiful. Thank you very much. And thank you so much to Philomena for being the one who gave us, blessing us with the Bon di Alegria, which really is the show's catchphrase, isn't it? Morning to Darren as well, who tried Pick a Pal this week. I'll be trying Porco Preto in just a moment. I tried it before, but I'm really going to savor it this morning. Where did we get to in the comments before I do that? The legendary filmmaker is here, Andy Klein. Good morning, everyone. How you doing, Andy? Sorry not to see you yesterday, but we'll see you next week, I hope, when we do a recce. Okay, let's do this now, because I was over with the man who will be joining us, the Englishman, the Irishman, and the Portuguese man. We'll be talking to Marco in November. He's the star of the show. Bobby and I will have a chat with him in his own hotel, which is fabulous. And I'm going to give you a little sight of it now. Here's the man. So tell me of these four pictures, which you like the best. The editor seemed to like my piece that I've crafted about the Storyteller's Palace. It's an easy subject to write about. Well, he's an easy person to write about because he's so prolific. And I discovered in conversation with him. Any other Filipe Gomes fans here this morning? When we first came to Portugal, those 6 years ago, we used to watch Portuguese TV more than we do now, actually. And yeah, why is that? Oh, it's because we don't really watch TV anymore. The box, the thing Mayo gave us to watch TV isn't even plugged in at the moment. But whereas where we were staying in rented accommodation with all the bells and whistles, of course, it was. I think people would complain if you didn't have access to TV in an Airbnb type arrangement. There we were watching Portuguese TV and saw a fabulous woman by the name of Filipe Gomes who was rocking a 50s look with her beehivey hair and her red polka dot outfits. And I mentioned her to Marco here, and he's the one who cast her in that show and built the set, was the producer, basically, of those many shows. Kitchen 24, I think it's called, isn't it? Bear with me just a minute. Oh, sorry, something a bit seasonal going on in my throat there at the moment. I think a few people are getting that, aren't they, this time of year? But there's Marco, who actually was the creator of that whole vibe with Tia, Katia, and Filipe Gomes. And I think there are other cooks on the show as well. And as I was saying, he is so easy to write about. His creation, the Storyteller's Palace, is so easy to write about. It's such a good backstory. And it was my delight to craft an article about it this week. And Ed Inês, editor Inês at the Portugal Resident, says, well, can we have a picture of the man? Because he's awesome, isn't he? Not her words, but mine, and a recognition of the fact that we should have a picture of him, having talked about him in the article. So there he is. That's picture number one. Do you like that? Sat at his terrace bar, the little pool to his to the right of the picture there, and the Bay of San Martino de Porto, of course. Then there's a picture, more moody picture of him standing outside his establishment there, and you can see some of the incredible interior inside there. Beautiful woodwork as you walk in, and you'll also be able to read about the architect who designed the building. One of 400 architectural legacies, including the refurb of the Leiria castle. This particular architect, I'll leave it as a bit of a surprise with his identity, because I can't actually remember it right now. But he also, check this out, Veronica, he also built or oversaw the building of the oldest hotel in the Algarve, which is in Villarreal de Sant Antonio. So same man who built the hotel, not the guy standing outside in the picture there, but this is picture number 2 of Marco. Do you like that one? Outside the Storyteller's Palace Hotel. He is such a prolific guy from film and TV, and now quite something in the hotel industry as well. This is number 2. Hotel number 3 will be in Aveiro, in the midst of an oyster farm. He's got such amazing plans, this man. So that's photo number 2. Do you like that one? Do help me decide. Here's a close-up of that with a moody focus pull. So you can see his just about see Storytellers and Green Room behind him there, with his cool look into the camera, steely gaze into the camera, and then full-length Marco standing there, and looking magnificent above the steps, the few steps that you have to go up and into the Storytellers Palace. We can get the most amazing cream teas in the afternoon. You can have a happy hour in the Gatsby Bar, cocktail bar, in the basement as well. I imagine that's where we'll be filming in November. Fabulous place. Which of those do you like? Number 1, Marco at the bar. Number 2, Marco outside the restaurant. Outside the hotel. Marco outside the hotel, even closer up or further away. Picture number 4. Do let me know. And really looking forward to hanging out and having a chat with him, with Bobby O'Reilly soon. Oh, wasn't Fernando brilliant yesterday, by the way, who was in For Your Home and Dynasty yesterday? Spare Us the Cutter was Owen's favourite. We started talking about, in case you're thinking you joined us late, and what? Spare Us the Cutter? What's Owen talking about? Top band, Echo and the Bunnymen. They were Scousers, were they not? Echo and the Bunnymen. Or did that sound a bit too brummy there, perhaps? I'm not sure. Maybe my bird impressions are better than my regional accents of Great Britain. Who doesn't like something getting harder in the morning? Well, not if it's moving to Portugal, Pete, it would appear. And we shall find out. Black pig, pork, what? Your food talking. You are what you eat. Oh, no. Bon dia from Sue's this morning. And yes, Sue's got your correspondence. My goodness. Never a dull moment, eh? I hope you're feeling more relaxed and calm this morning. Antonio in, Antonio F. Bon dia todos. We'll get on with that. Try something Portuguese tasting in just a moment. I'll have a gob full of black pork. So that may not be everyone's cup of tea, so to speak, to mix my metaphors. Yeah, Echo and the Bunnymen were classed as new romantic. Did you like them? Tacos. Hold on. Here we go. Stand by for a controversial Solar Life statement, I think. No, I'm not reading that out. Pete, you've just gone. Is it beyond the pale? I think there, but I think safe to say that tacos are delicious, but look disgusting. We'll share that part of your contribution this morning. Bon dia to Jean, and your comment yesterday was brilliant. I'm going to make a meme out of that, if I may. The official bird of the Algarve is the construction crane. Brilliant, Jean. I'll make a little meme of that, I think, if I may have your permission to do so. You'll get the credit, of course, there. And I see your local football club will have a big match next month playing against First League team Guimarães. So Guimarães playing. What is the actual name of your local team down there, Jean? And as it turns out, you really were working as a waitress in a cocktail bar. When I met you, I picked you up, I spun you around and turned you into someone new. Sorry, I would have failed at karaoke there. Lost the lyrics halfway through, but I think my Phil Oakey's quite good. But this is Phil talking. I want to tell you what I found to be true. Bom dia, desde casa de Penhas Douradas, where on my walks, I found goats galore. Wow. Okay, what's this? Ian, stop it, Pete. Getting in and out of the easy chair to have a French fancy. Matron. Or more like, matron! It's not so much like, oh, matron. It's more like, matron, could I have some help over here, please? Bedpan! Career title, actor, rent paid, waitress. The 80s. Happy memories there. Carl, you read from Wikipedia, the bassist was Les Pattinson. Yeah, Pattinson, not Patterson. I see. No, not the Australian cultural ambassador. What a ledge. Yeah, and we lost him recently, didn't we? Barry Humphries, of course, yeah. Les Patterson, superb. If you don't know to what Ancient Marinader is referring to there, do look. I prefer Les Patterson to Edna Everage, frankly. Bringing Finn, thank you, Ancient Mariner, for clearing up that mystery there. Trying Porco Preto in just a moment. Bringing Finn the dog to the groomers. He needs a haircut, as he'll be indoors almost 6 months because of the colder, wetter weather. We will be lighting the fire daily till March. So it's definitely getting chillier in Belfast now. And the match against Guimarães, the match will be October 20th or so. The winner will stay in the Taça de Portugal, the Portugal Cup. Every small team wishes to get lucky. Okay, and beat the big dog, the big team, be the underdog that beats the giant killing action there in the football. So, but what is Jean's team? I want to know. I'll definitely want to watch that in the cafe. That'll be a good game to watch, won't it, for the Portugal Cup there. Every time I come, there's more and more plants in the background. It's called nature, Darren. They're growing. We've got a grow light, which we bought from one of those shops that sells lights and equipment to people who grow nefarious compounds and substances and plants. And we did explain to them that we wanted to grow lettuce and tomatoes, and they really weren't interested. I think they've heard it all before, but we still got the grow light, which hangs above these plants, and they quite like it. As you can see, they're looking pretty healthy, aren't they? Yes. Eventually, you'll just hear a voice talking from the plants. Glad to hear that something... Peter, o meu hotel fiz amizade com alemães que são muito corteses e amáveis. Now, I'm very impressed with your grasp of the Portuguese, not literally. Please do not be grasping the Portuguese without asking for permission first. A kiss on the cheek will suffice. But the language here, I do think we need to go bilingual on it, though, Mr. S. It will help others, especially me, if you do a translation as well, and then we can piece it all together. But props to you for your excellent command and effort in this regard. It's nice, isn't it, to talk like a Victorian letter every now and then, a Victorian correspondent by letter. My dear Mr. S. It is with great joy that I chanced upon your grasp of the Portuguese language. But may I ask you, please, in future correspondence, to offer us a simultaneous translation into the British vernacular, with fond wishes from the mainland of Europe, Mr. Munson. I tried to pick up out this week. How was it? You can't just say that. That's brilliant. I've just seen your comment there, Ancient Marinator. Yeah, how was it, Darren? Coming soon to a sky near you. The lunar eclipse on October the 14th. Have your camera ready, Owen. Counting on you. Pressure's on there, Owen. Can you give us a snap of the lunar eclipse? This one coming up is a harvest moon, is it not? Mrs. Evans, she's not keen on those names that are given to the moons, the super moon, etc. She's quite sort of snitty. Is that the word about it? Carl, have you tried Chinese medicine, or as your mum might call it, medicine? Occasionally, I do think it's a bit like the Chinese takeaway, isn't it? It's kind of lost a bit in translation, and we're not getting the best Chinese food at the Chinese takeaway. I suspect the same is true of Chinese medicine. It does get commoditized, doesn't it, when it turns up in the West? And I think they just have potpourri in some of those jars just to create an ambiance of, an apothecary. And I wonder if everything that's in those jars is absolutely, I was going to say kosher, but that would just confuse things here, won't it? If it's authentic Chinese, or if it's just the contents of, trail mix. What else could we, if we were trying to cause a bit of mischief at a Chinese medical practitioners, what else could we put in those jars? I mean, there are things, aren't there, that you fear might be shark's fin or bird spittle or something like that. But I think we could put potpourri in there. We could put trail mix in, couldn't we? We could put prawn crackers in. Fortune cookies, crumpled fortune cookie. Doctor, this tastes like the crumpled fortune cookie. I know it tastes like that, but it's really not. And some people finally get cured when holistic approaches to the last resort. Well said, James. Absolutely. And here he goes again, Mr. S. Atia Cabras, talking about goats here. So, amigo vejo aqui in Portugal. So, he's got goaty friends here. Not just the greatest of all time, but actual goats. And life is, of course, a reminder here, life is the leading cause of death. But we all made it. We all made it to another day. Well done, everybody. Good morning to GMP Stalwarts fans and General Gumpadres. That's a great turn of phrase there. Cheers, Dougie. Good morning to you. Have to call it off for today. Work is calling. See you all tomorrow. Antonio F. Cheers, mate. Thank you for being here. We treasure each moment we spend with you and your wise Portuguese counsel and friendship. Thank you very much. Is the Try Something Portuguese challenge limited only to food and beverages? No, parking on roundabouts is also allowed as well. So keep them coming. Some of them are in the pipeline. I can't just knock up a franzazina or a pig's ear. But if you want to have it couriered to my house, some of these things. And I'm talking to you, some of you big food and beverage producers of Portugal. Then feel free for a bit of product placement if you want to send me your Francesinha. But it's a bit difficult for me to get up at 6 and knock it up and then eat it myself. Okay, so James, normally it is when people mean culture, they mean food. No, but I'm open to. I mean, you can stretch the definition of Portuguese within reason, and some people have already done that. I mean, they're trying me with really extreme foods that wouldn't be everyone's cup of tea, so to speak, or a copo de chá. But yeah, why not? Why not? Let's stretch. I mean, let's face it, we do stretch the boundaries of Portuguese culture here, don't we? Advertently and inadvertently. Oh, you will alienate all the vegans with your porco preto and your meetups. Vegetarian. I should point out that vegetarian and vegan food is available at the meetups. Good point. Lovely to see all the tables together at the meetup. Yes, let's not build bigger walls. Let's build longer tables. Unless, of course, there are some people that we don't want. Let's face it. I mean, it's a good saying, isn't it? Build a bigger table. But really, there are some people you don't want at your table until they can prove themselves worthy. Okay, what's this? Immersion language programs are a bunch of immigrants speaking English. Well, yeah, but it's not just that, is it? Mr. S, have you been on the old apple cider vinegar this morning, by any chance? Excellent Portuguese, and I'm a little concerned at some of your comments about us fellow immigrants who may not be as up to speed with the Portuguese language and culture as you appear to be. Lead us, sir, lead us. What's this? So we've got Mr. S and Pete talking to each other in Portuguese. Well done. Eucalyptus, as we've seen, also burn very quickly. That is the big problem with them in fire-prone environments. Yeah, they're kind of natureless, aren't they? These plantations, not just of eucalyptus. Whenever you have monocultures, it's not entirely helpful. Wow, cans of what? Can you do an elephant rendition? Yes. But it needs quite a lot of force, that, and I'm sorry, I don't want to sit here having had an accident of some sort whilst offering my elephant impersonation, because I've got to sit here for another 40 minutes or so. I might treat you to an elephant impersonation at the end of the show when it's safe to do so. Doug, you did ask. My aim is to please. Muito linda gata. Yeah, you're talking about the lovely Jenny who's just turned up. And with these strays, I mean, she's welcome to stay here. We've taken her under our collective wing here, and we're both rocking a majestic look there, are we not? But yeah, she is a very beautiful cat with quite the ugly call and cry, it has to be said. Thank you, Jean, for that. Pam's in as well, it would appear, this morning. Hola, bon dia, Pam. And Pam, I noticed your profession, your offering, your professional offering. You should come on and tell us more about that, if you want to, that is. And Heather's asking me for a link. That would be useful, wouldn't it? She's ready now. I think she was up really late, and I better crack on, and we'll save a few more of your comments for a little while, maybe when Heather's here. And Dougie, yeah, thinks he stayed at that old hotel, newly refurbished. That one designed by the architect as the Storyteller's Palace in San Martino de Porto. I think Mrs. H and myself stayed at the VRSA Hotel. It's a newly refurbished opposite the Iamont Ferry Terminal. It's really nice. Thank you. I'll come back to more of your comments. Just want to make sure I've said hello to everybody. Chinese takeaway, Chinese chuck away. Darren, Fardo singing. All right. Okay. And Mary Marv is here. Good morning to you, Mary. How lovely to see you. And Sarah, good morning to you as well. Come back to all your comments in just a moment after we've gone to the trying of the Portuguese thing this morning, which will be Porco Preto. But let's roll that VT first so that we can set this up correctly. This, my friends, is what we're about to do. Right, I am appalled and disgusted, as I often am, not by the Portuguese thing I'm about to try, but some of the habits of my cohabitees of this household here. I've got the butter out of the fridge. and there is extreme cross-contamination has taken place. Anyway, let me show you what butter I use here. Do you use this butter? Butter has to have salt in it, doesn't it? So there's a nice Portuguese brand for you. If you're Portuguese and watching this from overseas, I imagine that will be giving you a bit of saudade. Look at that. They've been making butter since 1947. 3 more there, 250-gram pack with salt. That's how I like to roll. And upon the vehicle for my tasting of the Porco Preto this morning is this. Now, you might not want to look that up on Google Translate in the Brazilian Portuguese, because that gave me quite a shock this morning. Well, there's no cedilla on there. Cai cotinho or cai satinho, and that's the BAP, bread cake, balm cake, whatever you call it, roll, wherever you're from. And there it is. There's that's what it looks like, and it was a little bit softer and fresher yesterday, but this is what I've brought from the supermarket yesterday, and I love that. Actually, in a lot of Portuguese supermarkets, the bread will come from a local, what looks like a kind of family baker, and on this occasion that will be Padaria Martins, which is Boa Vista. How far away has that come from there? They've even got their NIF number on there. Boa Vista, just up the road. Is that the I mean, there's many Boa Vistas, aren't there, of course, here in Portugal. Hopefully it's the one that's not too far away on the beautiful Atlantic road between São Martinho de Porto and Foz de Aurélio. In my mind, that's where it is. It might be a Boa Vista on an industrial estate somewhere near Caldas de Rainha. Anyway, what I will be having upon this, I've taken the uncross-contaminated part of the butter. I have a little nub of bread roll there, some pain, and I will be going with this product this morning. Now, those real deli lovers will be blanching. Is that the right word? Will be horrified by me having shrink-wrapped things to try here, but needs must. And this caught my eye. This is the Baio de Lombo. So it's pork loin. It is black pork, and it is the pork loin. What would you call a slice? Salami, fatias, or fatiado, sliced, of course, here. And it comes from the Porco Preto. It comes from the Alentejo region. So you can see what you're buying. If you are a little bit new to life in Portugal, you might like to get something like this. If you're not ready to have the conversation in the Portuguese deli and ask for this directly by name and risk whatever might come through to your mispronunciation. So here I am. That's made it easier. And there are some great shrink wrapped things in the supermarkets. I like that trio of cheeses that comes on a lovely little graphic of Portuguese azulejos. I think that's a good product. And there we go. A translucent strip, sounding like Bauhaus now, aren't we? White on white, translucent black capes. But in this occasion, I think Heather liked my little bit of Pete Murphy and Bauhaus there. She's fresh from Echo and the Bunnyman. And there it is, a fatty slice of Porco Preto. And I'm going to have it now, which will render me incapacitated and or eating with my mouth full. So I won't take too much, but I'm buttering my bread now. Not a euphemism, actually buttering the bread. Generous amount of butter, but not so generous as to ruin my health and fitness program that I'm currently embarked on. We'll be having muesli or granola and yogurt after the show as usual. But there we go. A nice little, that would go beautifully, wouldn't it? With a glass of red, Portuguese glass of red or a cold beer. So I've got my bread, got my butter and my bit of Porco Preto in a pork loin, finely sliced. Let's go. I'm going in. Right. Talk among yourselves or open your notebooks if you want the tasting notes. I'm definitely getting that first flavor of a dried meat. Very flavorsome. Hits the nose and the palate very quickly. I'm just going to mute my mic so you don't. Actually, what I could, have I got any? I'll play the jingle first so I can have a really good taste of this without doing it right in your ear and your face. So I've got 10 seconds to give us a really good chew. My mother will be proud of me. I didn't eat with or talk with my mouth full. I did eat with my mouth partially full, and there's a little bit left there, but the flavor is beautiful. The Portuguese bread, yum. Even bought at the supermarket. Really, really nice piece of bread. Salted butter, yum. and then the pork loin slice there in the Alentejo porco preto style. Very, very good. And I notice as well, for those of you who prefer to eat free range, if at all possible, and are concerned with animal welfare, the animais criados ao ar livre, so free range, open air husbandry here. And the packaging, this is quite a well thought out product, and look, even they've thought to make it, what is it, emballage con reducción de plástico y cartón. I find that hard to believe, but anyway, they're making an effort at Intermarché from their Porci range, their select range. I commend to you. That was delicious, actually, and I really can imagine just having a nice taste of red wine to go with that. Maybe not right now. I'm going to be having a sip of black coffee in just a moment, or a cold beer would be perfect, and that would be excellent as part of a platter of cold meats and cheeses. So I can commend to you, and enjoyed greatly the porco preto pork loin slice there from Intermarché. Intermarché, if you want to send me anything else to try and screen, I'll send you my address. We get amazing. Oh yeah, and the loin cut is very, very good, isn't it, Pete? A beautiful thing. This is something Frank taught us how to cook here when he stayed with us last time. We get amazing whole loins of black pork from our butcher with a beautiful smile and expert trimming, probably cheaper than the packet co. Yeah, I can believe it. You can eat with your mouth full, but not talk with your mouth open. Thank you very much. Like I said, dad joke mind alive and well. Yes, thank you. And yes, I would thoroughly recommend that. I got thrown out, says the ancient marinator of a bistro in the UK, for asking if the vegans in their vegan sausages free range. Oh dear. And when the apocalypse, no, Peter, we've got to pre-read Peter's comments. Try something Portuguese. Excellent. Thank you, Sarah. And yeah, I imagine you may have turned away for a little while there. But thank you for this alternative suggestion. Very much indeed. Try something Portuguese rock, punk, and hip hop. That's a really good idea, isn't it? So, at the risk of having a YouTube strike, we could try something Portuguese together in the form of music and play a little snatch of music. My Shazam suddenly started working on a Portuguese bar in Viseu and expanded my playlist for long rides. That's a really good idea. We could do that. I guess if we ask for permission from the artist, we should be okay with that as well. All right, it's 9:29. Shall we bring? You want to give me a thumbs up, both of you, Heathers? We seem to have two Heathers in the green room, but that's okay. Stereo. Let's give her a nice big round of applause and bring her on now. We're going to be answering that question: is moving to Portugal getting harder?
Can you hear me? There I am.
And were you waving your finger at me because I shouldn't have asked that
Well,
question?
I was getting you twice and I was trying to figure that out, and I don't have you in my headset, but that's okay. I'll figure it out in a second here.
Well, we got you loud
Not
and
sure what I
clear.
did.
We got you loud and
Well,
clear.
I try to have the YouTube chat up,
Yeah.
so I can see questions, but I'm just not that talented to multitask.
Well, a lot of the questions you will see in the comments, and you should be able to comment in your back office view there. The other thing you can do as a co-host here on Good Morning Portugal is stream to your own channel now. There is a button for doing that if you wish to do so for future episodes. You are a popular and knowledgeable guest here, Heather. That's why you now
Thank
are with
you.
us twice a month. So great to have you back. How are you feeling this morning? I've got the feeling you were up late.
Wasn't that late. Actually, I got to bed much earlier than I usually do when I'm seeing you. So it's all good. Yeah,
Okay.
we went to the concert last night. I got home around midnight or so it wasn't too bad.
Not
But
too bad. Where were they
but
playing then?
I stay up
Were they in
late.
Lisbon?
So
Were they in Lisbon or closer to home?
they were in Lisbon. They played at a university theater there, about 1,500 people. So it's a small venue.
But nice, though. I mean, that sounds like
It was great.
the sort of venue you would see Echo and the Bunnymen at the beginning of their career.
Yes.
And in a university, that sounds like the right atmosphere to me.
Although this was an auditorium, so it had seats. So, back in the day where I grew up in Chicago area, you would have gone down to the Metro, the Riviera, whatever, and you would have been standing room. It would have been, you wouldn't have had seats.
Oh, right.
But having seats was really, really nice. So I can't complain. They're really nice, comfortable seats too. So it was great. It was a great auditorium, and we had a good view. But it was my first time seeing them live, and it was different.
Oh,
I have a
really?
feeling it would have been different, 30 years ago or something for sure.
I am sure. Why
But
were they all sat down as well?
he did sit down
Right.
at one point during the show on a stool. So yeah, but everybody else was standing up. He told us all to stand up, and then he ended up sitting down at one point. But
Uh, uh,
it
um,
he got a little too creative towards the end. He was definitely not drinking water.
oh, really? Fantastic. Okay. I see that two of the original lineup have sadly passed away. And you're talking about he, as in Ian McCulloch, still the front man of
Yes,
Echo. Okay.
yes. But
Okay.
he's like 64 or something. So
Is he really?
I'll give
That's
him that. But
I'm thinking of a program format now. People, legends of the '80s in their 80s. So it's not long. It's not long now, is it? So we can see some.
oh my Carl, you're killing me. I turned 51 on Monday. And like that's enough. And so yeah, it is really that is well, I hope I have more birthdays, but but like it's just weird. Like you mentioned Peter Murphy and Bauhaus and who I
Yeah,
love and saw Bauhaus not that crazy long ago, actually, right
really.
before COVID.
He's always looked like he was in his 80s, though, hasn't he, Pete Murphy?
Peter Murphy, no, has not. Peter Murphy is a rock star, man. He's awesome and he
Yeah,
knows how to
I
do
thought
it.
so,
He
yeah.
just goes like, he just throws himself out there. And I remember seeing him literally when I was like 15 still, I think,
Mm.
in Chicago with like my brother. And yeah, he did that. He did that whole like rock star thing where he lunges out to let people like touch him.
Yeah.
And I was right at the stage, and so I just did the thing everybody else was doing. I reached up and I touched the guy's leg, and it was funny. It was rather interesting.
What did you actually climb down knotted bed sheets to go out and see Bauhaus at the age of 15? It sounds like one of those.
No,
Right.
I had my mother wrapped around my finger pretty well because
Oh,
I
God.
would tell her that things didn't start in the city until like 11 o'clock at night or later. So we
Right.
used to go to this gay bar, and we would be out till like 5 in the morning, and my mom knew. My friends' parents didn't know, and they all would like stay over at my house or whatever, but like we wouldn't even go out till really late. So
So cool.
I don't know, my mom was really cool.
Definitely, definitely. That sounds great. I remember seeing, before we get on to whether it is getting harder or more difficult to move to Portugal or not, I remember seeing Pete Murphy and Bauhaus at the Lyceum in the Strand, I believe, which was a great place. I saw Wham there. I saw
Oh, yeah.
Culture Club there. I saw some amazing bands in that venue.
Wow.
I don't even know if it's still a music venue. And Pete Murphy came out, the beginning. I mean, it's a great opening to a Bauhaus show, isn't it? Ding, ding,
Right. Love it.
Bela Lugosi's dead, and so
Yep.
the lights are down, house lights are down. Obviously, by this time, all the rest of the lights are down, apart from one in his face as he leans forward in his black cape. And some naughty punk. I was at the front. I must have been, I don't know, I must have been under 20 myself at that time, and I was in this, mosh pit of Larry punks, and I was only little and young. And one of the punks fired a pellet straight into his face as he was doing his
Oh
moody thing.
no.
Yeah, and he just took it. He was such a pro. It could have blinded him, but this pellet smacked him in the face, and the music, ding, and he just winced slightly, and
And he
just
just kept going.
carried on. He goes, I'm doing Bela Lugosi, and no one's going to stop me. So
he pointed right at me and sang when I saw him a few years ago, because that
Really?
was after I had foot surgery, and so Kevin and I we got like gimpy seats towards the front. No offense to anyone, and well, I had
Okay.
I had the walking cast, whatever.
Yes.
And if it gave me better seats at Bajas, I was gonna work it a
Maybe
little
we'll
bit.
go with a accessible seating arrangement.
Yeah, well, they were bar stools. Like it was so, because it was a little club. It's a little
Yeah.
club in Arizona. And so so it was awesome. So we were like just stage left or right, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And at one point, and it totally did starstruck me enough that I don't remember what song he was singing. And
Really?
he just at one point is singing and like pointing at me.
Yep.
And singing right to me, and was like really like, it was that moment I was like, oh, this is cool, and it was just really funny. And that was pretty neat because, you'd seen him a long time before and all that. So,
Yes, very
so
good.
yeah, that was awesome. But I didn't realize what a privilege it is when you grow up around a big city, to be able to see these shows and be able to see this stuff live up close in these little venues, and these bands are small.
Yes.
Because I just saw Bjork and like the massive, huge thing in Lisbon, Coliseum thing or whatever. And it was a different show than it would have been. Well, like I saw Sugar Cubes, when I was 16.
Right.
So
Okay.
it was definitely a different size venue. So we were lucky to see some of the shows we saw for sure.
It's so bad. I can't help but think. My first thought is the Sugar Babes, and I think Pam was watching last time when that came up, and said she'd like to see Bjork fronting the Sugar Babes. She probably would as well. And she's also telling me you should definitely try folklore dancing. Okay, so let's try something Portuguese. Okay, I'm up for it. I'm up for it, but I have I've got to prepare some of these things alongside the fado singing. Apparently, the clitoris has 60,000 nerve endings, but is nowhere near as sensitive as a vegan in a Portuguese restaurant.
Why are you always making fun of vegans when I'm on here? I have really good vegan and vegetarian friends. Like
I'm not
really
always
good.
making. It's not me, is it? I mean, but that is a brilliant joke. I think even a vegan would laugh at that. And that's saying something.
That's true. Well, at least one of my vegan friends or two would laugh at that. I'm not sure about my
I mean,
third
that's
vegan
right. That's right.
friend.
True. Okay. All right. Let's move on and answer that question. Thank you, everybody, for not that you had much choice in that, but indulging us with our talk about 80s bands. I think we're not going to be far from that ever, are we? We will be talking about our love of 80s bands from time to
I
time.
will, because but yeah, I mean, not just 80s, but like I love Pink Floyd. We were talking about Pink Floyd last night, and I
From the
remember
1880s.
that. And
Yep.
well, I mean, I saw him in the 90s. Well, it would have been late 80s, I guess is when I saw him. And so not just strictly 80s bands, but yes, we will
There's something
discuss it
about
again.
but I think there's something about the 80s and seeing 80s bands now. For a lot of people, it was a real heyday, wasn't it, of music and clubbing and going out and stuff. So,
I mean, I don't know if it's just because we're older or what, but like, yeah, you just can't beat a lot of that stuff. I mean, and I think it's true because like my niece was visiting 19, and she took my Echo and the Bunnymen t-shirt from when I was in high school, and she's wearing that stuff today, and my
fantastic.
picture
Excellent.
and all that stuff. So like, it's timeless, I guess.
My Haircut 100 jumper would not work well in this environment, in this weather, the climate over here. I don't think I've still got it anyway. But I was trying to think of I mean, we did have a session of gumpers sending in pictures of themselves with their favorite band t-shirts. That should never end.
Cool.
So if you've got a picture of yourself in your favorite band t-shirt, send it in 913-590-303. And Pam, last word then on vegans for the time being, because this again is a conversational thread that will never stop. But I think some people feel threatened by vegans. Not sure. I think you're absolutely right. That is part of the whole interplay, isn't it? People do definitely feel a little bit guilty or threatened or something, or made wrong, which is always a great start to a relationship or communication. You're right. You're absolutely right. And vegans always have a right to reply and give as good as they get on the Good Morning Portugal show. So is it getting harder, so to speak, to move to Portugal? Or maybe we should use the phrase more difficult. Your personal observation and experience on this matter, Heather.
Yes. So it is getting harder. The last 60 days, 90 days, we've seen some changes in the responses that clients are getting to their applications. We're getting some kickback. I always had clean approvals prior, and we're seeing some weird things happening, and starting to ask for the lease registration, starting to ask for birth certificates, which these are Americans but born outside of the U.S. that had naturalized citizenship, and what else have we seen lately? Just definitely the income piece has really shifted. And, I know people that got approved with showing no income and just assets, and people will still make the argument that that works. But we've seen it not work. And I had a client recently that, had almost $900,000, was a couple years away, 2.5 years from retirement, currently eligible for a pension right now that she wasn't pulling. And she was having regular savings move from one account to another, and they still didn't like that.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, it's crazy, and they didn't even give good reason. They basically just cited income. And then I started seeing some other posts come up in some of the groups and other places that were showing that same thing, where they want to see, things like the retirement income already being pulled. And they want to see 3 months of it supposedly in the accounts in the previous 3 months. And,
Right.
things that a lot of people aren't planning for, because like they've timed it, they've timed it maybe so they're going to retire at the end of the year, and they want to move like in, right then. And so that's a little, it's getting to where I had to go back and kind of recounsel a lot of people that I've talked to over the last year that were getting ready to apply or in process with me or whatnot. And the current applications we have that we're doing the next like 60 days, 90 days, those are the scariest ones, because we can't necessarily backtrack these changes. So I have at least one client that they're trying to push their appointment out because of that, so that we have a more, I can more confidently tell them that, this is going to be looked upon a good way. And then of course we have the compounding problem of Ceph disintegrating and turning into this AIMA thing. And these are all unknowns. We don't know how this is going to affect things, but we do know that things are getting backed up and that getting appointments is harder to get. And I have several clients right now trying to get appointments that, are on there several times a day and refreshing and the whole thing, and not, not having much luck. But you have to just keep doing it. You have to keep doing it. But the income piece, I think, is really changed a lot. And so the way that you need to structure things needs to be tweaked. And I think a lot of people out there maybe need some counseling and consulting to make sure that they're up to speed on the latest and greatest. And this may change more, is my guess, over the next upcoming months, when we have new processing or new AIMA organization that's actually doing the processing of the visas themselves.
Okay, I want to ask you a couple of things there. So when you say a clean application, I think that's the phrase you use. That's when you send it in, it comes back and all is fine and nice and easy. And those were the golden days, weren't they, when that was happening? Is that what you mean by a clean application?
Well, it wasn't nice and easy per se, but I know how to structure and present. When I was managing broker, I audited contracts, and when I was loan processor, I took people's raw data and I put it together in a nice package and presented that to the underwriter. And so these are skills that I've honed over the years to be able to take this content and present it in a way that it's going to be the most palatable and easiest and clearest to go through the system, and that been working really, really well. And then we had a hiccup with a very, very, very well qualified client where it's not working well. And you look at it and you go, well, what did we do wrong? Like, what's going on here? And it's not a matter of that. And then I had one client say, well, what are the changes? Like, what's the legislation that changed? There is no change in legislation.
Well, that's the thing I want to ask you about next. Yeah, because these are interpretations, aren't they? And that's my concern about this. Is it's not fair, because it's not the law, is it? And this is what we're beginning to hear. It's the VFSs and consulates actually.
Well, nothing's fair. Portugal is the ultimate country for it's not fair.
Oh, really? Say more. Because what makes you say that?
There's no consistency and therefore equity. you go to a junta and you get an atestado de residencia, and then you go to another junta and they tell you that you aren't even qualified to get an attestado. You know, you have a lease and you have a visa. And, I mean,
Yes.
we had two sets of clients arguing this with a junta down south of Lisbon recently. And, you know, it just crazy stuff like that. And you never know, because all my other clients had got attestados without issue. And then all
Yes.
of a sudden you have somebody who's like interpreting it that way, or,
Yeah.
you know, oh, you can do NIF submission online. And then of course in Caldish, no, you can't. And, you know, so it's the person working
I get you.
at the, you know, the person you're dealing with has so much control. So that's what
Absolutely.
I mean by it not being fair specifically, is that there's just not a consistency. And you could say that for any country, probably, and certainly for the United States in a lot of respects too. Uh, but at the same time, this is scarier in the sense of, you know, when you're applying
Yeah,
for
of
things
course.
like visas and
Yeah.
you're selling property and you're moving across the world and taking elderly parents and pets and the whole nine,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
so the stakes are big.
Uh-huh.
And I find it really funny because you still have all these DIY people and people saying, oh, you don't need help and you don't need professionals and you don't need this and that. And that's cool. And maybe you don't, but maybe you do. You know, 95% of the information is there.
Yeah.
But what is right and what isn't? And nowadays, what's the most current? What's the most recent? What's actually the pulse of what's happening right now?
Yeah, and
And
I would say,
yeah, go ahead.
I so enjoy talking to you because it just prompts so many other questions and you know, things occurring to me, especially on this subject, because it's, you know, this is a big subject. It's an emotional subject for people, obviously, and it forms, you know, you can't come here without what we're talking about, can you? You've got to get your visa right, and
No, you can, but that's a really bad idea. You
so-
can no, I literally just had people got on a plane, came here, hadn't talked to anybody, didn't know anything, like
right,
literally
and
anything.
said, I want to live here.
Yeah, they just showed up.
Okay.
And I'm like,
Right.
okay, you need to go back.
You do, yeah. The whole point of a visa is to get access to the country before you come into it,
Yes.
rather than while you're in it. Although, yeah,
Yes.
there are some sort of shades of grey in that, aren't there? But let's not get. But I don't get distracted again. I want to make the point that I hear sometimes is that, you know, even for Portuguese people, this is the same thing of a lack of fairness and equity and the interpretation of the law. You know, there is the law, which might be, it might be an 80-20 thing. It might be as harsh as, for foreigners and Portuguese people alike, that the law is 20% and 80% of a process involving the government or national, local, is interpretation by that government worker. And they do have a
100%. 100%. The same with the taxes. That's why I've consulted with 5 tax people and I've gotten 5 different opinions
yes. There you
on
go.
what's legal and how you
So,
do things. And
le-
even when you get tax residency and like all this craziness. And
yeah,
so it's like, it's really aggravating. And it's really difficult, like really difficult for somebody that's trying to really determine, how do I do this? What's the best way? What are the ramifications? Because
yeah.
all of this stuff, it's an art. It is not a science. And
Well
that's
said.
where, you know, working with someone with a company like ours comes in, because we are good with the art of it.
Yeah.
But even that said, my job has gotten a lot harder in the last 90 days.
Yeah, so I think that context might help there, Mr. S. I think, you know, as a foreigner moving into a country, you may well, of course, experience unfairness and challenge and difficulty, and it's all quite subjective and relative around the world. It doesn't seem. I mean, by the nature of trying to get into a country, it's never going to be an easy process. Otherwise, everyone would just be moving easily into other countries, and that it doesn't work like that, does it? Winnie too is saying so true. I'm not sure to which bit, whether it's unfair or whether the taxation thing or whether it's 80-20, but you might want to expand that a little bit, Winnie too. So yeah, okay, so it's
That's
unfair,
Mary. Hi,
no
Mary.
question, and it's 20% law, 80% interpretation. And it sounds like it's getting a little bit more difficult because of that. We have the background context of the shift, the reorganization, which is, I mean, you know, that is the new normal, isn't it? It's not like we've had a thing that has been stable that is being reorganized. You have been working in an atmosphere of instability and reorganization for how long now? All the time you've been doing this?
Yeah, all the time I've been doing it. But particularly the last, little bit here, because this reorganization, was it got approved like 2 years ago, but it keeps getting pushed off. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's getting pushed off this time. And it's supposed to take over like October 29th. What is it? Agency for Integration, Migration, and Asylum, AIMA. Yeah, so that's
Which
the
was
new
APMA. I mean,
set.
it's had a name change before it even got off the ground, because it was going to be APMA, wasn't it? And
What
now
are we
it's
gonna call it? AIMA?
I guess so.
I gotta figure this out.
AIMA. That's right. Yeah, it sounds like a hurricane.
It's AIMA. So yeah,
Hurricane AIMA is bashing the coast at the moment.
And I put it in my Evernotes what that stands for, because I just know somebody's gonna be like, "And what does that stand for?" And I'm gonna be like, "Wait,"
because it might change again, Heather. Now, the other reason for working with professionals, you made a point about, some people say they go DIY, they can do it all themselves, and it's true, you can. But now, with this in mind, when it comes to challenging the interpretation, that's when you might want a professional on your side, and also the professionals.
Well, you don't want to get to the point of challenging, because that means you got denied, and
Okay.
now you've got to, you want to structure and be set up and be in the right position going in, and you can't do that if you don't know ahead of time to be able to prepare ahead of time, so the time to talk to someone like me and it is really now, if you're anywhere in that process, because there's no, hi, look, I have my mug, your beautiful mug Mary got me.
If anyone else wants to buy Heather a mug that she can show on her
no, I'm good. I'm good. And but we don't know what's coming down the pike, and we have to just be on our toes with what's coming down the pike. And if you're listening to people on Facebook or whatever that are saying, "Oh, I did it myself a year ago. I did it myself 3 months ago. I did it this is irrelevant information already. And if you're listening, if you're reading books, like I had a client give me this book. I'm moving to Portugal the other day, and I was like, okay, I'll look at this thing for a minute and look at it for half a second, and I already see outdated information. And the thing was just published like this year. It's not even old. And so, you can't even put content out there. So these people that are like, oh, I watched a YouTube video on blah, blah, be careful. This stuff changes way too fast to be that published and out there. And you do it yourself decade, in 2020 is forever ago when it comes to visas. 2021 is.
I think in those days, you could say you were staying at an Airbnb, for example, and that was fine. You just show an Airbnb booking and you were home and dry, as it were. So thank you, James. And the other benefit of working with professionals, I would say, is that when you do it yourself, that's the first one you do. When you're working with professionals, they're dealing with people who are doing it all day long, and lots of different case studies and experience to draw upon. So pros and cons for sure.
Carl, I just want to say, because I feel like it's important. I worked with a professional on my visa. And then I went on to do my parents and do my fiance and do my friend from Canada, and, got kind of wrangled into doing, helping people. And so, the reason I did that is because I am a real estate broker and I have my own business and I pay myself as a W-2 employee. And I did this stuff for tax strategy and I wasn't sure how it would be looked at. So basically I had a complicated scenario. And so the help I got turned out to really be my training and was really invaluable. But, my clients are highly educated, extremely like A-type, very on top of it people mostly. I have 4 attorney clients, and that right there, it's like attorneys. These are attorneys, literally, not immigration attorneys, but attorneys, and they don't feel qualified to do this themselves.
Fair enough. We are in the last minutes. We're going to have to finish in about a minute or two. You have to be a very special kind of person, I think it's fair to say, then, to do it yourself. Mr. S has been quite insistent here. I did it this year, all DIY 2023. It's very, very, very simple and easy.
Good for you.
Good for you. And I think the word, I was looking, I just did a quick check online. Assiduous is the right word for Mr. S, and we're pleased for you. However, I don't think that's for everybody. And if you do want help, of course, there are a growing number of people who are available to help you from their experience. And that's another thing, isn't it? You can work with this side, you can work with Portuguese folks who can help you, and you can work with people now, a growing number of people who've done it themselves, like Heather here, who speaks from her own experience as well as helping other people move here. So do what works. And
that I think that's a really important point, because I feel like the immigrant experience side is really important, and really we bring both together, because I work with a local Portuguese vendor that works with me and does my boots on the ground stuff, and does that. And so we really bring both sides together. And I think that some of these immigration attorneys, Portuguese folks and stuff, are missing that piece, and that is really invaluable, because the perspective is really key on meeting people's expectations and doing a thorough job.
Very good. Tell us where we can find you, Heather, because we've got to go, and we'll see you again.
Sure. Okay.
Flew by, didn't it? Maybe we need to talk so much about 80s bands next time, but where to find you?
So I offer free chat at bootsonthegroundpt.com.
Okay, there it is on the screen right there. Heather, it's been wonderful talking to you. We're going to go out with the end credits, as it were. And just a quick reminder as well that we've got the Getting Real on Portuguese real estate coming up next Tuesday evening at 8 o'clock with a star-studded panel. And I'll leave a link to it on the screen. You've been amazing, Heather. Take care and bye for now. Ciao, ciao.
Bye. Thank you.
See ya. Roll BT.
Bom dia, Portugal! In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.